Would you please welcome Jay? You know him already.
This is odd for me, not having a guitar. Maybe I should strum through it and see what happens. This isn't my talk. Just wanted to be obedient real quick as we've been speaking about obedience. And this morning as I was driving into work, I was praying and just asking the Father just to reveal himself to me. And he gave me the phrase, Jesus is coming. You know that silly phrase, Jesus is coming, look busy. Which I thought was, lol, that's hilarious. And he said, no, scrap that. Jesus is coming. Let him find you on your knees. So just before we go through whatever I've got prepared this morning, would you guys just I'm just going to kneel and let him find me on my knees this morning. If you guys want to do it with me, then feel free. But I just wanted to just posture our hearts this morning just to gratitude and thankfulness for how good he is. For all those words that Emma and Catherine have spoken. How good is our God? How awesome is our God? That he would pour himself out for us. That he would draw us closer into intimacy and relationship and fullness with him. And that we can come to him where we're at, completely humbled by his majesty. To say, Jesus, we love you. We pour our adoration, our oil upon you. And we just give you all the glory. Just in this moment as we posture our hearts to gratitude, just give it to him. Just say, I give everything over to you, Father. Everything for your name, everything for your glory. If our hearts are hardened this morning, allow our hearts to be softened by the embrace of our Father, pulling us close into his chest and our heartbeat aligning with his. Thank you so much, Jesus, for who you are. Not just for what you do for us, not just for the amazing things we've seen you do and will see you do, but just thank you for who you are. Our lovely, beautiful, wonderful Jesus. Amen. Right. Let's see how this goes. I'm going to be reading out of Luke 5, verses 1 to 11 today. Oh, I just went to Luke 1. I don't want Luke 1. I want Luke 5. Thank you. 1 to 11, which is a very familiar story. But let me just read it to you. I think it'll be up on the screen, so follow along. I'm reading from the NIV version. One day, as Jesus was standing by a lake in Gennesaret. Why is everything a weird name in the Bible? Come on. The people were crowded around him, listening to the word of God. He saw at the water's edge 2 boats left there by the fishermen who were washing their nets. He got into one of the boats, the one belonging to Simon, and asked him to put out a little from the shore. Then he sat down and taught the people from the boat. When he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Put out a little deeper into the water and let down your nets for the catch." Simon answered, "Master, we've worked hard all night and haven't caught anything, but because you say so, I will let down the nets." When he had done so, they caught a number of fish so large that the fish began to break the nets. That's not what it says, I'm just abbreviating. So they signaled their partners in the other boat, and they came to help them. And they came and filled both boats full, so full that it began to sink. When Simon Peter saw this, he fell at Jesus' knees and said, "Go away from me, Lord, I am a sinful man." For he and all his companions were astonished at the catch of fish they had taken. And so were James and John and the sons of Zebedee, Simon's partners. Then Jesus said to Simon, "Do not be afraid. From now on, you will fish for people." So they pulled up their boats from the shore, left everything, and followed him. Very familiar story. In this passage, we follow the journey of a fisherman called Simon, later to be known Peter, and his companions James, John, the sons of Zebedee. These men had trained their entire lives as fishermen. It is what they lived and breathed. Everything they had done up until that point had trained them and prepared them for the job that they were doing at that point. In life, I can feel that I can really relate to Simon in this story and also the way the story pans out in the end. For as long as I can remember, I've wanted to be a musician. From the age of 14, I began touring in secular bands and studied music all the way through school, college, and university. Everything I did, every decision I made in life was working towards becoming a musician, very similarly to how Simon was in this story and the people that were with him as fishermen. My greatest desire in life, other than to be a husband, and you can refer to my wedding speech when it comes out online for that, was to tour the world with the biggest bands on the planet. There is a very long story of how God was so faithful in my life to take me on a journey to that desire almost being fulfilled. But I don't have time right now, so if you want to talk about it at some point, then please feel free to come and chat to me about it. Things shifted, though, when a prophetic note was given to me by a stranger called Sam at Vineyard in Bath. And there's some Vineyard attendees here today. How great is that? Come on. That was the moment that the Lord called me into his narrative instead of following my own. The note said on it, and this is an abbreviated version, something to the effect of, the Lord is asking you to give something up in order to pursue him. The Lord has been speaking to me for a while about giving up all of my dreams as a musician to pursue a life of leading people in worship. After about 2 years of refusal and throughout touring trips to America and exciting events across Europe and the UK, God spoke to me very clearly at a rehearsal. By the way, just to say, I don't say that to boast. I just say that because it was God's journey with me, and he was so faithful and so kind. This rehearsal was 2 weeks before we were meant to head out on a UK tour with a friend of mine called Danny McMahon. God said to me, "You said you would give it up for me. I want you to do it now." So, in amongst the conversation about car logistics for the tour, I piped up and said, "Sorry, boys, but I'm not coming with you." The first response was shock, and I think there might have been a few expletives. Harry was there, you probably would know. But then as I began to explain to a room of non-Christians, apart from my brother, that the Lord was telling me to do it, a grace began to fill the room. I tell this story because I feel I can relate to Simon's story in Luke 5. He had trained his whole life to be a fisherman. His greatest desire would have been to catch the biggest catch of fish, just like my greatest desire was to play the biggest stages in the world. But the crazy thing is Jesus gives Simon his greatest desire at that moment. He actually over-delivers so much that the boats began to sink. That's how just unbelievably amazing our Father is. It's almost as if Jesus was saying, I can give you your greatest desires and more. Here we go, just have it. But it's a few lines on in the story where the real gold lies. In verse 11 it says, "So they pulled up their boats up onto shore, left everything, and followed him." When Jesus, is this cutting in and out? Do you want me to flip over, or are we good? When Jesus revealed himself to them, their greatest desire switched in an instant. He handed them everything they could ever have wanted on a silver platter, and then essentially said, "But desire me more." He is our greatest desire. The world can trick us to think that the biggest stages, the most money, the best promotion, etc., are the greatest desires of our heart, but they fall unbearably short to how much we are called to desire him. It's built into the fabric of our beings. Our souls cry out to him. We yearn for him. He is our first love. But he is kind. He is kind enough and loves us so much. Shall I just switch microphones? Bear with. Thank you. Is that better? Come on. I'll start that again. He is kind enough and loves us so much that he is willing to say, "Here you are. Have your desires. I just love to see you smile." That's how lovely he is. I just love to see you smile. Have it. Take it. But all along, he's calling us back to him. We can often be mistaken that we have accomplished things on our own. But the real truth is that it is the kindness of the Father that led us, opened up the opportunities, and gave us the gifts to carry us through. It says in 1 John 15, "Apart from me, you can't do anything. You can do nothing." which literally says in plain black and white that we can do nothing except with him. God is kind enough to gift us our greatest desires, but he calls us to lay them down in a second to follow him. He has to come first. Now, as I discovered quite unbearably, this is unbelievably costly. But it's meant to be. It's a sacrifice of praise. It's giving ourselves as a living sacrifice. In 2 Samuel 24, 18 to 25, it tells this story of David being told to go and purchase a piece of land on which he is to build an altar for the Lord and give sacrifices. The owner of the land says to David in this conversation, "Let the Lord, the king, take whatever he wishes and offer it up. Here are oxen for the burnt offerings. Here are threshing sledges and oaks for wood. Your majesty, I give this to you." David's response, though, is revolutionarily profound and powerful. David responds, "No, I insist on paying you for it. I will sacrifice to the Lord burnt offering. I will not sacrifice to the Lord burnt offerings that cost me nothing." True worship is costly. We often have to lay things down in order to worship him fully. In my case, and in the case of Simon, it was laying down our greatest desires to follow him. But in the day-to-day, it can look like laying down our dignity to worship him in freedom. The cost is our dignity, but the reward is just a beautiful, fragrant offering to the worthy King of Kings. We need to make the decision to be all in. We need to put aside our greatest desires to allow ourselves to fall in line with his greatest desire for us, which is crazy because that is exactly what Catherine said. We could make it to the top and have everything we want. And the Father is kind enough that he would help us there. But it will always come up unbelievably empty in comparison to the glorious plans the Father has for us. But none of it means anything if we aren't deeply in love with our God, for he is our greatest desire. I find myself doing this on a daily basis. Even today, as I was driving on the way to church. You know, when you get the opportunity to step up and speak, or you get the opportunity to lead worship, or you get the opportunity to lead a home group, or all those opportunities that are given, it always comes with a humbling, with a laying down. In our day-to-day, even as we step into our work buildings, even as we step into our universities, our schools, whatever, there's not many young people here, but schools anyway, let's go. He calls us to humility and hunger. It's basically what everything's built around. You hear Paul going on about it all the time. Humility and hunger. We need to lay ourselves down. The door is in the floor. We need to go as low as we can to just go, "Jesus, you are everything to me." So right now, should we just do that? I don't know if you guys fancy that. I'm all there. Those knobbly knees things, what was it, camel's knees things that Matt spoke about a few weeks ago. I love it. I want to have camel's knees. I want to be humble. So let's just humble ourselves again this morning and just say, "Father, you have our all. You have our everything." It's a heart posture, you know. It's just saying, "Father, have my heart." You know, often when you're in the dating process, you often kind of say, "Oh, I'm protecting my heart. I'm holding back a bit because I'm not sure if this is going to be painful. I'm not sure if this is going to be difficult. I don't know." But the Father just calls us to fling wide our hearts. "I let out the sails of my heart." Let's just say that together and just in our hearts. I let out the sails of my heart this morning to you, Father. You can have everything because nothing is worth anything apart from you. We were singing this song a few weeks ago that came out of a prophetic moment. which sang as the words that came out were, "You are precious to me. You are precious to me. More than diamonds, more than rubies, more than gold. You are precious to me." So we just posture our hearts to that now, Father. You are precious to us. More precious than the most precious rubies we could ever attain. More precious than our jobs. More precious than the things we are looking to achieve. As I've learned recently, even more precious than my marriage. You are precious. We come to you as your bride. Lord Jesus.